showing you how I'm designing my March bullet journal spread. I'm really excited about this one. I just finished up the initial sketch and I think it's looking really good. I decided to go with a flower shop theme, so it's kind of a combination of my love for architecture and of course my floral designs, so I feel like this is a good combination of the two, and I'm excited to add in my micron pens to add some like details to everything, and then add some like watercolor or brush pens to make everything pop and add some color to it. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm first of all choosing a bunch of different micron pens that I'm planning to use throughout the spread. I kind of like to have a variety of different sizes just because with kind of the finer details, I like to use a smaller size, and then with other like fonts or things like that, I'll use like a larger size. So anyway, I start off with my O1 and I'm just kind of outlining some of the brick detail that I've drawn out already in pencil, and I used a bunch of different photos off of Pinterest as reference for this whole spread. I really wanted to do lots of florals. I decided to go with like a flower shop theme, so I outlined this kind of storefront that I used a couple different photos, like I said, on Pinterest to reference, and kind of outlined this window and door and added kind of some brick detail around it. So I'm just kind of tracing over with my ruler all the lines. My hand is usually pretty shaky when I'm drawing, so I definitely need the ruler to draw those lines a little bit straighter than I would if I were doing it freehand. But with the bricks, I kind of was okay with them being a little bit messier just because I wanted them to look a little bit more realistic. So those I didn't really worry about using the ruler as much as like the precise lines for the storefront. So yeah, I wrote out a little quote too there in the middle, just on the window there, and it says, "Let us live like flowers, wild and beautiful and drenched in sun." And I just thought that was a cute and fitting quote, which I think works really well for this spread. So I added a bunch of different flower pots and used a bunch of different variety of like plants and flowers to just have a wide range of different plants there, and kind of did some really basic outlines of them. I wasn't too perfect with the details of them. I just kind of wanted a brief outline of the flowers just to kind of have a reference for when I'm going in and painting them. That's when I can add a little bit more detail. I just wanted kind of a general outline with the pen, and yeah, so they're kind of splotchy, they're a little messy, but like that's kind of what I was going for, and I kind of got carried away with all of the flowers around the storefront, and there were a lot of them. My hand was definitely tired after working on all of that, but I do think that it looked really good by the end of it, and I'm really happy with it. But this was definitely a more time-consuming and tedious spread, so if you don't have the time to do this, I would not recommend it, but I think there's other ways that you can make it a little bit more simple. But I just love details and I love adding those in. I think it just makes it just a little bit more special and fun for me. I enjoy the process of it. So yeah, I just played around with some different shapes of the pots and did little like woven baskets and some wooden crates, and I did a little watering can and just had a lot of fun with like adding some different variations of sizes and textures and details. And yeah, so on the page on the right side, I added the calendar to kind of the little window there, and I felt like that was a kind of cute way to fit it in, and played around with some different like font ideas for the word March, and found this one that I thought was really bold, and still added a bunch of those flower details around the window there too, which the video is speeding it up. It definitely took much longer than this to fit all of that in, but I love how it feels very organic with it looking like little vines and stuff all around it and kind of spreading up around the wall there. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one, and yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to March. I think it's going to be a really good month, and yeah, I have lots of plans for working on some spring patterns and some other designs coming up for that. So trying to plan all of my spring content out and get everything ready. So spring is kind of my favorite season to capture when it comes to my art. Fall is my favorite season in general, but when it comes to like designing and creating, I definitely love my spring florals. Those always tend to do the best for me as well. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, do you guys have any fun plans for March? Anything exciting coming up? I think I'm going to be going to Pittsburgh for a little bit, and then I think those are the only travel plans I have. I just got back from Orlando for a work trip, which was super fun. It was kind of nice to get away from Indy for a little bit and experience some warmer weather. And yeah, March can be a little cold and gloomy here, so it was kind of nice to be in the sunshine for a little bit and yeah, have a break from the cold temperatures here. But yeah, the other thing for me in March is like I am training for an ultra marathon, so I'm doing a 50K. It's about 31 miles, so I've done a 20-mile run so far, and March is the month where all of my long runs are increasing, so I have a 22-mile run this weekend, and then a 24 and 26 coming up next month. So I'm mentally preparing myself to do those long runs. I think it'll be fun. It's just gonna be a lot of work. So, but I think I'm excited about it, and I think it's gonna go really well. But yeah, anyway, back to the spread. I decided to go with my watercolors. I was kind of debating whether I should use my brush pens for this or do the watercolor paints, but I decided the watercolor would be a little bit more, a little bit easier to work with. I will say the pages in this bullet journal are not the best for watercolor paint. It did warp the page a little bit, and it just doesn't blend the colors as well as a regular watercolor paper would, but I still like being able to have more color options when it comes to like adding colors to the spreads. So I have a limited color palette for my brush pens, so that's why I opted for the watercolor paints. So I still think it turned out well. The paints don't work as well on this paper as a traditional watercolor paper. But anyway, I just decided to mix up a bunch of kind of lighter pastel colors. I didn't want it to be too dark. I really wanted it to feel more like spring and have more of those light pastel colors. So I did do some darker colors for like the pots, so tried to create some like terracotta and they're like woods and kind of gray like clay pots. So I did try to create a little bit of a contrast with that, but for all of the flowers I tried to make them pretty light with a few different pops of like a darker pink or a red, but yeah, really wanted to keep them pretty light. I did add a few details on the pots, added like a little bit of line shading on them, and then yeah, I went in with my brush pen and then created this little like creative pattern on the calendar and kind of highlighted the days of the week. And then I kind of was debating about how I wanted to do this storefront, if I just wanted to leave it white or if I wanted to add some shading to it. So I took one of my really light gray brush pens and I just kind of colored it in a little bit and went over some of the sections with a few more layers to add in a little bit more shading to it, which I think it made it look really good. I was worried that it was going to turn out too dark, and I didn't want that to happen. I really wanted it to still have that light pastel feel. So I just took the lightest brush pen, like I said, and did a few different like layers to kind of gradually add in some of that shading without it being too harsh of a contrast. So I think it worked out really well. And then I ended up going in with my peach brush pen and kind of filling in the window and door spaces there. So I think that helps make the color pair well with like the background of the wall. So, and then I did the same thing on the other side of the calendar page. So yeah, I feel like it looks pretty cohesive. And moving on to the weekly spread, I wanted to incorporate the same theme, obviously, and I decided to use that same font for March at the very top here and add in my little calendar on the side. And then I didn't want the weekly spreads to be as time consuming and as detailed as the cover page, just because there are 5 weeks in March and I was going to make an extra spread and I didn't want it to be too time consuming. So I did a very basic outline for the days of the week, and then I created a bunch of plants on kind of the top here and still added in some of that brick detail so it looks like it ties in with the front page. And then I added in a bunch of different plants and pots and this little candle, and yeah, just had fun kind of arranging these in, different ways. Added in that crate and some different like clay or terracotta pots, and just kind of wanted it to feel pretty cohesive. And then I took my brush pen and outlined the days of the week like I usually do, and then added in some of the watercolor detail here to kind of tie it in and make it cohesive with the cover page and calendar page that I already did. Yeah, this one was really fun. It definitely took a long time to do, but I do really like how it turned out. So you'll have to let me know what you think, and if you have any suggestions for other spread ideas, please let me know. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this spread. Please let me know what you think, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.